Well, that aged like Wensleydale on a hot porch. I feel like an absolute buffoon right now. I said in my video predicting this fight that I thought Ankalaev's wrestling threat was a little overrated, and that on the feet, Pereira would have basically every advantage. I said my knee-jerk reaction was to pick Ankh, but after watching tape on both fighters, I sided with Poatan to pick him apart on the feet and secure a knockout at some point. Ha ha! Hey. Magomed Ankalaev just took the belt off Alex Pereira, and I don't dislike Big Ankh at all, don't get me wrong. He's generally a fun, thudding striker, but Pereira was literally the most exciting champion we had. So much aura, bro. He had Buffer doing the one, the only. No one gets that distinction. Just blasting through everyone in his path like a wrecking ball. And doing all of it with basically the opposite approach that a lot of popular fighters take. Rather than being loud and boisterous and talking all kinds of shit, Pereira's stoic demeanor makes him feel like a Brazilian Terminator. His fists are cast in cold rolled steel and he smashes everyone into oblivion. He quite literally lets his hands do the talking, and he's the most popular fighter in the sport right now. But the Dagestani parade rainer just came in and rained on our parade. He had Pereira stuck in the mud out there. He didn't even have to threaten the grappling that much to turn the champ into a deer in the headlights. To Alex's credit, he did manage to stuff basically 100% of what Ankh attempted on the ground. Pretty rock solid takedown defense. But again, despite what some people think, the wrestling advantage wasn't quite as sheer a drop off. The fight was close and honestly kind of uneventful. First round played out mostly how I thought it would, with Pereira peppering Ankalaev's calf and dancing on the outside, but he just never managed to kick things into gear. Ankh then took the middle 3 rounds, and they were pretty close in terms of numbers, but I can't really see the argument that Alex won any of them. He was getting pushed back for the majority of the fight, and as far as optics go, Ankh was one going for bigger shots the judges would actually notice, even if the striking differentials weren't that crazy. Most of the ones coming from Alex were like calf kicks and body kicks, and he throws them so fast that you can honestly blink and miss him half the time. Ankh actually managed to drop Pereira at the end of round 2. He had the champ so tentative to commit to anything and was marching him down. It was incredibly impressive. Then we got round 4, which was a big bunch of fuck. Ankh racked up some control time by smudging Pereira into the fence, and even when they would break for a second, Alex just didn't know where and when to spin around and reverse things, so he basically just got a whole round of this. It was ball numbing to watch, but it bagged in the round. And then I'd say Pereira did enough to win that last one when he stepped on the gas more. Honestly, again, Poatan clearly spent eons training up against the fence to make sure there was no way in hell Ankalaev could take him down, and he did a really good job of it. The challenger had literally zero success on that front. Ironically, had he attempted the grappling exchanges more, I think it might have worked in Alex's favor a little more, as he would have just stuffed him and maybe landed a knee up the middle or something. I don't know how intentional this was, but Ankalaev barely pursuing takedowns but doing it just enough to have his opponent sweating bullets was a genius play. I've never seen Pereira so hesitant to throw before in my life. He got walked down and beaten on the feet. Wild. Good shit, Magomed. He has retained his spot as the 205 boogeyman. I think there's definitely a universe where this guy reigns supreme for years to come, but I don't doubt for a second they're going to give Pereira that immediate rematch. The next contender isn't all that clear at the moment, and this fight was pretty close, and Pereira is literally the face of the UFC. So they're going to do that, and it's either going to be in the summer or whenever they do the next Abu Dhabi card, if I had to guess. And honestly, and some people will clown me for saying this, I actually think Poatan could win that. This fight was still close enough that some people cried robbery, which I think is a little silly, but still, it was close. And that was with Alex scared to commit to much of anything. Going into a rematch, he'll know he can stuff anything Big Ankh attempts, and if he actually lets the combinations fly, he can certainly beat him to the punch. But I don't know. Either way, this totally dashes the hopes of a John Jones super fight ever happening. And to be honest, I'm kind of glad that shit would not be competitive at all in my mind. And hey, look on the bright side. Now this guy has no reason to not fight his interim champ. Hurrah! One thing I didn't even think about until now is this was basically light heavyweight Oliveira versus Makhachev. Let me be real, folks. That was a bad fucking day for me. I was fully on board the Oliveira hype train like most people were and was hoping he could main character his way to a win somehow. And then Makhachev just kind of thwomped him and my day was ruined. It was an Abu Dhabi card too, so it took place earlier in the day. I couldn't just go to bed. I had to stew on that shit. The thing is, Makhachev is an awesome champ. He's definitely won the fans over and his fights are always exciting as hell. I think if Magomed is able to win this rematch and go on a tear, the public will have a similar reaction to him. As for the rest of the card, it was pretty good. Not the most stacked thing on the planet, and we had hella cancellations. There were only 10 fights on the entire card. What we got was pretty entertaining for the most part. I am endlessly impressed by Joshua Van. For a guy with basically no wrestling background, he stuffs takedowns from dangerous grapplers for days and lights them on fire with some of the nastiest boxing at flyweight. This kid will be headlining fight nights in the next year. Mark my words. Mauricio Rufy just sent King Green's cranium into orbit. This dude's box office. I thought he'd win, but I was excited to see some of the back and forth between the two. As Green's always been a pretty good litmus test for hype prospects. He put up a damn good fight with Fiziev back in the day. But it was clear to me from the first clean right hand roof he landed that this was not gonna last long. Brutal knockout. I think the fighting nerds were all concocted in a lab somewhere. These guys all have the sauce. Ignacio Bahamondes is ranked at lightweight now. Interesting. Very interesting. BSD fight anyone? Justin Gaethje and Rafael Fiziev just took turns brutalizing each other. What a fucking banger. I thought Gaethje was on the cusp of retirement based on him hinting at it a couple years ago, and I want him to hang them up when he's ready so he doesn't go down the very path he sent Tony Ferguson on. But I can't lie, if there are no physical consequences, I will watch this guy fight every week forever for the rest of my life. The first fight was pretty awesome, don't get me wrong, but this one just dwarfed it completely. Fight of the year contender already. Sucks for Fiziev, man. Down 3 fights now. But the last one was like a fluke injury and this one was short notice, so I don't think most people will hold that against him. I'm just glad he's back in the mix because he was sorely missed. And I don't think this would necessarily be deserved, but I would not be surprised if the UFC matches up Gaethje with Makhachev next. Islam said in the past he wants that fight, and Dana made it clear that Sarukian won't be getting the next shot. So provided they don't do the Topuria one right away, I think they'll book this one. And Gaethje will lose, but the guy's put on so many great fights for us that I don't think a lot of people will mind. Kind of like when Poirier got the shot last year. So yeah, all things considered, pretty sick card, even if the main event result had us like this.
Naruto, what are you doing up that tree?
I am going to kill myself!
What?
Yep,